Before Jesus ever healed a single person, before he ever told a parable, way before he stood in front of kings and rulers, his story started in complete silence. It's a story about a kingdom that shows up not with a bang, but with a whisper. And well, it changes absolutely everything.
Just let that sink in for a second. What if the most famous birth story in all of history was actually the first move in a divine game of chess? A strategy to completely flip the script on everything we think we know about power, about success, and about control.
Because the story of this kingdom, it doesn't start where you'd expect it to. Nope. It begins really quietly, kind of in the shadows, with something that, to the rest of the world, looked like a total and complete scandal.
I mean, think about it. There was no royal press release, no military parade shutting down the streets, no crown waiting on a velvet pillow. The powers of the world, they were totally in the dark, completely oblivious to what was really going on.
Instead, the Son of God arrives through a scared teenage girl, Mary, who was found to be pregnant before her wedding. Now, from the outside looking in, this seemed like a huge moral failure, but from heaven's perspective, this was the start of a revolution.
And that brings us to the big mystery, right? Why this way? Why would God choose humility and risk and what looked like shame to kick off the rescue of the entire world? To get that, we've got to look at the world he was born into.
The world that we read about in Matthew chapter 1 was not some peaceful, quiet place. It was a pressure cooker of power and fear and control. You had Rome ruling with an iron fist, King Herod ruling with pure paranoia, and religion had become this confusing maze of rules that just left people feeling empty.
And this is where we see this incredible contrast. In a world that was expecting some warrior king to come and crush their enemies, God's plan was completely upside down. See, in Rome's system, power was for the strong, and honor was all about your public image. But God's kingdom, it would enter through humility and faith. Its power would be found in quiet obedience, and honor would be found in secret trust. It was a totally different value system.
And this wasn't some new idea God just came up with. Matthew actually reminds his readers of this ancient prophecy from the book of Isaiah, showing that this strange, quiet arrival, it was part of a plan that was centuries in the making, a plan that hinged on one very specific name.
Immanuel. It means God with us. And not God yelling from far away or God watching from a distance, but God actually stepping into our mess. God right here, with us, in our broken, fearful, rule-obsessed world. His very name was a promise that he was present.
And this is where it all comes to a head. The arrival of Immanuel, of God with us, creates this immediate collision. It's a clash between two totally opposite kingdoms, and each one has its own system for what it values and what it rewards. This is the real heart of the conflict. The kingdoms of this world, they reward force, public appearance, and protecting yourself no matter what. But God's kingdom, it rewards faith, quiet obedience, and humility. So Jesus' birth wasn't just a sweet little event, it was a declaration of war on the world's entire value system.
And this whole conflict became intensely personal for Joseph. His choice was simple, but man, it was not easy. He could protect his public reputation and just quietly dismiss Mary, or he could choose quiet obedience to God's kind of scandalous plan. He chose obedience, and in that one single act of faith, he pushed God's entire story forward.
So, what on earth does this ancient story mean for us today? Well, the way Jesus arrived actually reveals something incredibly profound about how God is still working in the world and in our lives. You see, God's kingdom doesn't invade with a big spectacle. It infiltrates with humility. It starts small, just like a seed. It grows quietly, often in ways the world doesn't even notice. And it works by changing us from the inside out, not by force from the outside in.
And here's the ultimate hope in all of this. This gentle, hidden beginning points to a future that will be anything but quiet. The very same Jesus who came as a vulnerable baby will one day come back in dazzling glory as the undisputed king. The kingdom that started as a whisper will end with a shout of total victory.
So, what does this all mean for you right now? Well, first, if God was willing to enter the world so gently, it means no life, and that includes yours, is too broken or too messy for him to enter into. Second, if God valued Joseph's quiet obedience way more than his public reputation, it means your unseen acts of faithfulness matter deeply. And third, If God kept his ancient promise the first time, you can be sure he's going to keep his promise to return.
So in the end, this is so much more than just a sentimental story we pull out once a year. It's the dramatic opening scene of the final chapter of history. It's the story of a hidden kingdom that is still unfolding all around us and will one day replace every single false throne on this earth. As we wrap up, I'll just leave you with this to think about. Which part of this story really connects with you the most? Is it Joseph's courageous obedience? Is it Mary's humble surrender? Or is it just that profound idea of God choosing to enter our world so quietly? I'd love to see what you think in the comments.